I think we can all agree that Christopher Columbus was a very clever, brave man. In 1492, he was entrusted with the lives of 87 men and 3 boats when he set off across the Atlantic Ocean in search of a fast route to East Asia and the South Pacific. He landed in a place that was unknown to him. There he found treasures, extraordinary trees, birds and gold. He was then entrusted to go back a second time, and this time he took 15,000 colonists on 17 ships. So this was a man of sane mind and someone very trusting and clever. But there was one thing Christopher Columbus was expecting to find, but didn't. Upon his return, in his official report, Christopher Columbus noted that he had discovered a great many islands inhabited by people without number. He praised the natural wonders of the islands. But he added, "I have not found any monstrous men in these lands," as many had thought. Why, one might ask, had he expected to find monsters? In my research, and that of other historians, revealed that Christopher Columbus' views were far from abnormal. For centuries, European intellectuals had imagined a world beyond their borders populated by monstrous races. One of the earliest accounts of these non-human beings was written by the Roman natural historian Pliny the Elder in 77 AD. He told his readers about dog-headed people and creatures with no mouth and no need to eat. Across medieval Europe, tales of marvellous inhuman creatures circulated in manuscripts. Though there were many skeptics, most Europeans believed that the distant lands would be populated by these monsters, and stories of monsters travelled far beyond the libraries of elite readers. Perhaps no one did more to spread the news of monsters than a 14th century English knight named John Mandeville, who, in his account of his travels to faraway islands, claims to have seen people with ears of an elephant. One group of creatures had flat faces with 2 holes, and another that had a head of a man and the body of a goat. Scholars debate whether Mandeville could have ventured far enough to see the places that he described, and whether he was a real person, but his book was copied time and time again, and likely translated into every known European language. Leonardo da Vinci had a copy, and so did Columbus. The old beliefs die hard. Even though Columbus didn't see any monsters, his report wasn't enough to dislodge the ideas of the creatures Europeans expected to find in parts of unknown places. In 1493, around the time Columbus' first report began to circulate, printers of the Nuremberg Chronicle, a massive volume of history, included images and descriptions of monsters, and soon after the explorer's return, an Italian poet offered a verse translation describing Columbus's journey, which its printer illustrated with monsters. Indeed, the belief that monsters had lived on Earth's edge remained for generations. In the 1590s, the English explorer Sir Walter Raleigh told readers about the American monsters he heard about in his travels to Guinea, some of which had their eyes in their shoulders. Even though Christopher Columbus didn't see any monsters on his journey, it was only a matter of a couple of years later, in 1521, during the Spanish and Aztec War.
Cuauhtemoc's last-ditch effort to push back the Spaniards was to elect a sacred Quetzal warrior. Placed in a ceremonial costume covered with resplendent feathers and made to look massive by way of wooden frames, this warrior scared the Spaniards.
The Spanish campaign declared victorious on August 13, 1521, when a coalition army of Spanish forces and natives, led by Herman Cortés, captured the capital of the Aztec Empire.
Pushing through, this warrior is said to have captured 3 men at once and dragged them to Cuauhtemoc for immediate sacrifice. The Spaniards began to withdraw, and Mexica morale increased as the Quetzal pushed further.
Do you really think this was a man? The description matches what we know the Anunnaki look like. So was they trying to recreate the Anunnaki warriors, or was this a real Anunnaki warrior? And where did he disappear to? Why couldn't they find the body?
But this final act of valour could not turn the tide of the siege. As reported by native sources, the warrior dropped from a terrace, never to be seen again.